Hello, this is Armando Acosta, and today I'm here to give you a high-level overview of the new release of the Dell EMC Cloudera Hadoop solutions. Just quickly, before we get into the training, I just want to help you understand that we're going to keep it at a high level today. We do have a resource slide at the end of the deck. We do have resources that you can go and reach out to if you need more information. So please go and educate yourself with all those resources and all that content so that you're up to date and up to par on all this solution. So with that, let me go and get started with the presentation. So quickly, before we get into the details of what this launch is all about, first I want to give you a perspective of, what does a data-driven organization do and how effective it is. So recently we've conducted a Dell Global Technology Adoption Index. This was done in November 2015. And what we went and did is we went and interviewed 3,000 of our global leaders. And what we really want to understand is, okay, if that customer was data-driven and essentially they knew how to leverage data effectively, did it really have an impact on their business? And the answer is yes. What we found out is 50% of those customers had 50% higher revenue growth those customers had that were able to leverage data effectively. Additionally, what we've also found out is that there are customers that are interested in big data, but 44% of those organizations don't know where to start. So what we have here is an opportunity to go and help our customers start that data-driven journey, just become, that big data journey. And as we start that big data journey, we really want them to be successful at this. So we want them to help align the IT and business goals. We want to help them improve operational efficiency. And in the end goal, really transform their organization with new insights from big data and analytics. So when you look at this, we're really trying to, simplify this conversation with our customers. Big data and analytics is very complex. Hadoop is very complex. But what we try to do is break it down into these simple steps. Really, what you want to start with is where the data originates. What type of data do you want to transform, prepare, aggregate, or analyze? Once you understand what that data source is, next thing you need to do is bring it into your organization and connect that data. And what we do with that, we mean is you want to integrate that data, aggregate that data, and transform that data so that it's ready to be analyzed. And then that's the third step, of course. And that analysis can take place in many different tools, whether that's an analytical engine, whether it's business intelligence, whether that's in-memory computing via Spark and Hadoop, or if that's an enterprise data warehouse. But the key here is to understand is what data does a customer want to go and analyze? How do you transform and aggregate that data inside your organization? And then the final step, how do you analyze it so that you can get to that business insight? And really, like I said, the goal here is to align business and IT. I'll give you a quick stat here. IDC has given a stat there that 2 out of 3 big data projects fail because business and IT are not aligned on essentially the use case and how IT will support them. So what we want to do is we want to go and help the customer align business IT. We want to help them understand, okay, what data do you want to look at? What is the use case? Essentially, what decision do you want to get to, or what insight do you want to? And once you understand that, then our goal here is to really help them control costs and, mitigate risk with these projects. So, with the big data project, we don't want failure. So with them, with the customer, we want to help them understand how to reduce TCO, how to seamlessly integrate this new technology into their essentially the investments they have today and the traditional technologies they have today, and really gain that, return on the investment so that their company sees the business value in these big data Hadoop projects. In the end, really, what this is about is empowering our customers. What we want to be able to do is give them the ability to access data anywhere, anytime, and then, the ability to essentially perform analytics on those data so that they can get to that new business insight and essentially get to transforming their business with big data and Hadoop. So next, what I'd like to do is go into the solution, and first let's start off with, the solution overview. And so on this, slide, what we really want to help you understand here is what's the big idea, why does it matter, and really what is Dell bringing to the table that's unique to the market. So the big idea here is with our Dell EMC Cloudera Hadoop solution, it's really about simplifying all the front-end work for the customer. So the architecture, the design, the planning, choosing the server configuration, choosing the network switch, we've all done that, and we've validated an end-to-end solution for our customers so they don't have to do that work, and so they can focus on their use case and they can focus on their data. Not only that, why this matters is that if you look at this stat here from Gartner, through 2008, 70% of Hadoop deployments will fail to meet cost savings or revenue generation due to lack of skills and integration challenges. So customers need help here, and essentially this is what the solution is help them do, is go and essentially help that integration get there, solve that skill set gap by doing it our way and following our architecture and following our blueprint. And from a customer perspective, what we continue to hear from our customers is they're hamstringed by a lack of Hadoop expertise and skill set. They're spending way too much time on the front end work. By spending their time and resources there, they're not getting to the business value, which is the use case and the data, and then essentially, the business won't fund any more big data projects because they're not getting any results out of them. And this is where we come in and solve the problem for them. We're trying to decrease the time to value. So like I said, we want to simplify the architecture, design, planning, and configuration to give those customers that time back. Not only that, we want to be able to reduce the risk. And what I mean by that, essentially, we don't want this big data project to be a science project and essentially, trying to get on the site. We want to be able to essentially provide our architecture, provide the configuration, provide the solutions that build that, and essentially make it easy for customers to build that all together with our IP. And then last but not least, like I said, it's all about return on investment with these big data projects. You want the lowest total cost of ownership. That way you can show the business value to your organization so that they continue to invest in big data technologies like Hadoop so that you can get to those greater insights. And what's the Dell EMC message and why we're different? The number one message here is that infrastructure and expertise matter when you're building a Hadoop environment. Customers can come to us and they can leverage our expertise. Essentially, they can leverage our insights and essentially leverage how we put an architecture together so that they can get to your use case and become data-driven and make that data-driven decision-making so they can get that great insight to transform their business. And not only that, by using our architecture, using our blueprints, they reduce the risk because we've tested and validated this end-to-end solution for them. This is not something that Dell just slapped together. This is something that we validated, we've certified with Cloudera. This is our 18th iteration of this reference architecture, so we will know what we're doing. Customers can leverage our expertise, and we want to make this simple and all the front-end work. We want to solve this for our customers. So quickly, getting into the Hadoop architecture. With Hadoop, it's a massively parallel architecture. So what you do is you have an application that runs across many nodes. In that application, we're not going to get too deep here today, but just want to quickly give you an overview of the Hadoop architecture cluster. You have an admin node. This is where your provisioning and monitor take place. You have an active name node, which is essentially the brains of the cluster. This is where all your metadata resides. This is where essentially all your work, all your job functions, all your journaling functions take place. You have a standby name node in case that active name node goes down so that you can continue to be up and running. And then you have a high availability node that essentially keeps the journaling, and essentially that high availability node is able to plug into one of these nodes if the cluster goes down. Your edge node is essentially where your jobs come into the cluster. This is where we have Cloudera Manager. This is where your Hadoop clients reside. And then last but not least, your data nodes. And data nodes is essentially where the data and HDFS file system reside. This is where the data resides, and then essentially this is where MapReduce, the processing of the data, takes place. And if you look at this, Dell EMC Cloudera Hadoop solution, we do have different solutions built into this architecture. We have our general purpose architecture. We have our specific ETL offload data warehouse optimization architecture with SyncSort, which we include the R730 XD and also FX2. And then for those customers that are looking to do proof of concepts, we have our Quick Start bundle that's available in the US, and this allows customers to get up and running quickly. It's a 5-node cluster with 1 week of services included to help them get that upfront work done, help them get up and running, learn Hadoop quickly so that they can get the use case into essentially the data that they want to go and analyze. So next what I want to do is quickly cover what's new in this release. So as I stated earlier, we have added the FX2 architecture to our solution. Previously, we were only based on the R730XD. Now we've added the FX2. It's based on the FC630 with the FD332 storage blade there. On top of that, we have now will use the Dell Digital Download Locker. This digital download locker was previously used just to essentially give you the Cloudera package that you purchased via the software license. On top of that, now we're going to be able to essentially download our Dell Deployment Toolkit there. This Dell Deployment Toolkit essentially speeds up the deployment of bare metal hardware so that you can essentially load this Cloudera Hadoop distribution on top of it more quickly. On this new architecture, we have removed the management network. All the management and production network will sit on the same 10 gig network. The reason we've done this is recommendation for Cloudera for essentially security reasons. And so now we have a more secure system by taking out this management network. And then last but not least, we have upgraded the base operating system. We went from Red Hat 7.1 to 7.2. On the Cloudera side, with their Hadoop distribution, what you see from them is that they are working to make their essentially Hadoop distribution faster and more efficient to essentially get provisioned in the public cloud with lower TCO. They are working to essentially increase performance with different essentially ecosystem tools within Cloudera. One example is Hue. They want to make that work faster with Amazon S3. And then, of course, security is always a key concern when you have a data platform. And they've increased the security with Kafka along with the Sentry authorization. And then they've increased the performance of Impala for those fast queries. So quickly, let's dive into the FX2. So it's been a big ask from our customers and our big data specialists to go ahead and add this FX2 architecture. This is really for customers that want the highest density and highest Hadoop node density per rack. These are for customers that want to go large scale. They need a lot of nodes because they want to be as massively parallel as possible. And so the FX2 architecture is a perfect fit for this. With the FC630, we have plenty of compute memory density, and then with the addition of the FD332 storage sled, we have the option to mix and match on the hard drive density. If you look at the FX2 architecture, it's very similar to to essentially the configurations we chose for the 730XD. The only difference here is you get greater density. So in a 2U rack space, you now get 2 Hadoop nodes instead of one single Hadoop node. And then on top of this, when you look at the infrastructure of the chassis, please be aware, go look at our architecture guide. There are specific ways that we want to essentially put different nodes into the chassis. We want some infrastructure nodes. We want some data and storage nodes. So just be aware that you don't want to put essentially certain nodes all in one chassis due to essentially failure domains. So please go and check out that reference architecture document for further detail on what we recommend as the configurations for FX2. And so quickly, what I want to do is just help you understand a use case built around this. And so one example of this use case, we want to talk about operational efficiency. And this operational efficiency is actually something we've been talking about for quite some time. It was part of the core blueprint package for big data and analytics. And really, like we're trying to do here is simplify it. You have the source data. Once you have that source data, you want to be able to connect it. In this solution, what we're talking about is ETL offload, data warehouse optimization. And so once you connect that data, this is where we do the extract, transform, and load process. In that process, what you're doing is transforming that data. You're transforming that data whether you're trying to clean it, parse it, sort it, aggregate it, group it. And the reason you want to do that is because you want to get it ready to be analyzed. Once you have that in a good, ready state, you can essentially use Cloudera or Hortonworks or SyncSort in the solution. We have different, essentially, today we're talking about Hadoop DAS, but we also have Dell EMC Isilon offerings that we can produce here. And then once you get to there, the next step is to analyze that. And as I said previously, you can do that analysis in different tools, whether it's, essentially your enterprise data warehouse, whether it's your relational management database, a data mart. Once you get to the analysis, then essentially you want to act upon that. And so when you look at these operational efficiency use cases, I won't go through every example on the slide here, but one example we're trying to talk about here is log aggregation. And so when you look at this, you're trying to monitor the logs of your machine so that they don't go down. If you monitor those logs and essentially transform that data and build that process, you're really able to understand what's going on that, and you want to be able to predict failure. And then, put the Dell EMC wrap around this. We have services, we have management tools. Obviously, we have the best infrastructure to, run this security, and then Dell Financial Services to help with those buying options. So be aware. Talk about operational efficiency use case. This is a way to introduce big data technologies into your environment to augment those traditional environments. ETL offload, data warehouse optimization, one prime example. And so, have we been able to help customers? The answer is yes. One key example is we have helped a supply chain management company called Omnio. They have now been recently bought by Siemens. But what we were able to do for them is we were able to integrate a Cloudera Hadoop DAS offering. And by offering this, we were able to essentially increase high performance and insights. Not only that, in the end, when you look at what the customer said about us, is that early in the process, they realized that they needed a high-performing, scalable infrastructure. And this is the reason they went and wanted to work with Dell EMC, because of the relationship. They understood that our servers and our Hadoop solution, we've been in the market since 2011, and they were really impressed with our architecture, and they really were impressed by the way it really simplified, them integrating this new technology into their environment. And the reason they did this is they wanted to essentially provide a platform so that they could do better analysis on supply chain management. They could have essentially more data to look at. And not only that, once they implemented our Hadoop solution, they were actually able to save their customers 15 to 25 million in the first year by having this back-end architecture to allow them to do this analysis. So in closing, please be aware that there are many resources out there for you. This is your resource slide here. So please go and click on these links. We have everything from deployment guides to architecture guides to sales guides, along with the modular deck that's customer facing. Within this modular deck, we have many different sections. So you pull the section that you need based on that customer conversation that you're having that day. And if you'd like to have more information or contact us, please, go visit our page, Dell.com Hadoop. We also have EMC.com Big Data. And if you'd like to write us directly, please send us an email at hadoop@dell.com. We'd be able to help you out and answer any questions that you might have. Thank you for your time today. I appreciate it, and good selling.